Good morning to you. I'm Jeff Slakey. I'm happy to have in studio this Monday morning and every Monday right around this time, Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. Morning, sir. How are you?
Great.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Nice day here today. Big Seahawks win last night. You've got a big
fantastic.
thing. It was a pretty good one, right?
Yes.
Hoo-wee. Long time coming there. You got some big things coming on this week. First off, let's talk about this Washington Association of the Sheriffs and the Chiefs. What are you doing with them?
That's a statewide organization. This year, finally, I get to be past president of the organization. But it's one of the most unique policing organizations in the country because it's one of the few places in the United States that sheriffs and chiefs all come together in the same room and discuss statewide issues and national issues. And most states in our country don't do that. Sheriffs and chiefs usually have a very different agenda, and here we're one of the unique states that the sheriffs and police chiefs are under the same roof. And
Why
it's
would
very unique.
there be such a difference then around the rest of the country?
I think depending on where you go, it becomes very territorial over jurisdictions and things, depending on how those areas operate. Here, we found that it's much more productive to work together on the same areas of interest. And it's much more influential when we all go into the legislature. Every sheriff and every chief goes into the legislature concerned about a topic affecting public safety. And being together on those issues is a much better circumstance for us.
Are there areas of the country where there are those kind of turf wars where if a county or a state a patrol person goes over the line into someone else's jurisdiction, that there's a real problem there?
Yes, there are places that are much more territorial than here. I've had a chance to meet with people from all over the country, and if you could see how things are done, it's done very differently in different places.
Wow, interesting.
We're really fortunate here. There's only 39 sheriffs in our state, and we get along tremendously well, and we're all really good friends, and police chiefs as well. I'm serving on this panel with a very distinguished police chief on the Citizens Trust Committee. We've been asked to do this because we're from very, very different neighborhoods.
Very cool. Let's talk about this Trust Academy. I know you take a lot of input from the community. You listen to all that input, and it helps you make your decisions. Yeah,
I guess we started off doing things just because we thought it was the right thing to do, and now it's become kind of a trend, and other people have been watching what we're doing even here in Mason County. I was asked to be co-chair this committee on Citizens Trust. Small things that a lot of people don't think about. Last week we had our school resource officer, folks that were interested in putting in for that position. I invited in school professionals, principals, superintendents, and a school safety director to come in and do the interviews on that for me. I sat there with my chief and listened to the interviews, and they got to ask the questions that they wanted to ask, and they were able to have the main input on who they were going to select to work in their schools. That's part of the Citizens Trust Committee. As a month ago, so we talked about on my sergeant's exam, my promotional exam, we had a number of local business people come in and sit in on those things, both as role models and evaluators, to give us input on what kind of law enforcement they want. And that's very unique to some places. For us, we've been doing those kind of things for a long time. And so I had the great opportunity to be asked to be the co-chair on this committee with a super great chief from an area that we're from two different populations. Chief Ed Holm is the chief of the Mercer Island Police Department, which is a very high-income, non-struggling place. And I'm a rural sheriff from a rural area with a community that struggles with very high unemployment and other issues. And Chief Holmes and I were asked to join that because we have two very different types of communities, very diverse. And I think the great thing about it is I think the world of Ed Holmes. We were both biology teachers before we started in law enforcement, so we have a lot in common there too. But we'll be doing a presentation in front of the sheriffs and chiefs this week about community trust issues and what's happening at the national level.
So you get national folks to come and sit in on these Washington meetings to kind of get a sense of what you guys do?
This time Chief Holmes was able to go back east and met on the national board. I believe Ed went back there, and I know that Sheriff Surar did, and helped develop some of these things with leaders from national level leaders and business people and non-law enforcement people as well, and to make a national standard. And Chief Holmes and I are using that. It's called the six pillars of trust. We're using those to integrate back into our communities, and many of those things we were already doing. That's why we were asked to be on there.
That's very cool. This week we've got temperatures in the 30s. That means people are starting to change their mindsets and move toward winter. And without fail, every winter around these times, you start to hear reports of cars out being warmed up in the morning, and folks will go back in, maybe get their last cup of coffee. They come back, car's gone.
Exactly. And Jeff, with the ComStat computer-assisted data system that we petitioned hard to get a few years ago, we're able to watch what's happening by our calls being generated by the computer, what areas they're coming into, and we can watch that. And I will tell you that in the last month and a half, we've had a significant increase in stolen vehicles already, and we haven't even hit that super cold season. And I've heard it, I think almost all my life, and I don't understand why people still think this way or even think this way at all. But they say, well, we're just in a sleepy little community and I shouldn't have to worry about it. If you're leaving your keys in your car, leaving your car sit outside running, chances are somebody's going to borrow it and not bring it back. And with it getting darker out in the mornings now, people leaving their cars out there to run, we start to see those kind of things. That's not the only thing that's causing it right now, but certainly that is a contributor, and we'll see all over the state as the weather gets cooler, we'll start to see more of that. It just trends every fall. So please be mindful and don't leave your keys in your car and leave them unlocked, or even in parking lots at the store or the mall or something like that, because as soon as you start leaving things unlocked, people are going to get into it.
I know that in those situations, you're kind of at the beginning of the situation. The car gets stolen, the law enforcement gets called in. But have you followed it through the conclusion where either they don't ever get their car back, or they know that the car's been, chopped or whatever, and how long that process takes for folks to kind of rebuild after that happened?
Absolutely. Numerous times. If you didn't see the news last night, it was very interesting. And the gal that got in the wrong Subaru and drove off with it.
I missed
She
that
sent her
story.
friend to pick up her car, and she went and got in a red Subaru station wagon, started right up. She drove off, and she got to her friend's house. And her friend says, "Not my car."
Oh my gosh!
Some keys in some vehicles will cross fit, so be aware of that. But it was on national news last night.
Oh my gosh!
She went back to the people, left them a note. "I'm sorry, I stole your car. I didn't mean to." Unlike that circumstance, yes, we do. And the problem behind it is oftentimes when people get your car, especially it seems like when they take pickups and things, they take them out and they run them through the woods or through the swamp or whatever, and by the time we get them back, usually you don't want them. Usually they've been damaged so bad it becomes an insurance issue, and a person goes out and works very, very hard to buy a local friend here bought a certain type of truck that even bought it used because he wanted a certain year. For some features that it had for a business, and that vehicle got stolen, and by the time we got it back, it even looked like it might be okay. It didn't look too bad, but when he had the insurance inspected, it actually broke the frame on a full-size pickup. So somebody did something with it that wasn't well, and then it was a total loss when it's been hit that hard. So yes, you can. Sometimes we get them back right away, but most of the time I find that they've been damaged and items are taken out of them or off of them.
Wow. All right. Well, Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury, it's always nice talking with you. Always a very busy man, so we'll come back and talk again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.